All right. So here we are today on our weekly hypnosis talks with me, Jasiah, and Pete over there. Not quite sure how the camera goes. And we've decided today to talk about intuition and how it guides us. So, what are your thoughts on that?
It's one where I think in general we tend to ignore our intuition.
Hmm.
But to me, our intuition is probably one of the most important things we have, right? I can think of myself of like there's situations I've gone in where I'm like, something is telling me something is wrong. The question is, do I listen to it or not? Right? Now, I will say, this is where I say the trouble comes in and whether or not we listen to it or not is how tuned in is our intuition,
Hmm.
right? It's one where if we have, let's say, um, a bad experience, let's say a fear or a phobia, right? Our intuition tells us to stay away from it, right? But if it's not calibrated correctly, then it can also misguide us,
Right.
right? And this is one thing like I love from the CBT side of things, right? Is we have to question our intuition to get it tuned in,
Hmm.
right? You don't go to, let's say, Target or Walmart or anywhere to buy a clock, plug it in and go, oh, it's the right time, right?
Well, that's a great way to put it.
It's going to be off, right? Our
Mhm.
intuition is the same way. It is taking past experiences that may have been one-off, that may have been exceptions, that may have been, yes, traumatic in some way, but then it's going, this is how we have to live the rest of our life, right?
Mm.
And in those moments, it's just the clock. That's just the wrong time. We got to hit that time button and the hour button until it gets right there, and the minute button 50,000 times till it gets to the right minute, right? But when it's
That's
right,
old school clock.
yeah, that's yeah, you know, uh, but when it is calibrated, you can then trust it, right?
I love that. So, what are some ideas of how you would calibrate your intuition, your inner clock?
Yeah. One of the best things I've done for myself is always question my own thoughts,
Mm.
right? If I ever have a thought, like we'll take a really good example of when I decided to really go full time into my business, right? There were the thoughts you're not going to make it, you're not good enough, you don't know enough skills, you haven't helped enough people, um, you don't have the ratings like so and so, and right, all these things popped into my mind. Now, essentially, that is my intuition trying to say, hey, are we making a good choice? Should we go down this road? Right. But where is it getting its information to put that doubt in my head versus the excitement?
Mm. I like that. I like that a lot.
You know? And so when I really questioned it, I was like, okay, why would I fail? Instantly, it still pops in my mind now. My dad failed, right? My dad started his own business and failed. If he can't do it, why can I?
Mm.
Right? That's a big thought to have,
That
right?
is a big thought. Yeah.
And it's a thought that will guide you in one direction,
Mm.
right? But then I had to go, well, am I my dad?
Mm.
Right? And it not just like physically, but mentally, emotionally. Are my thoughts the same as my dad? Well, no, they are very different. So why would I use him as a basis for my failure or success?
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
But that takes a lot of reflection for us to go, okay, intuition, we're just off. We got to recalibrate, right? We got to readjust and reassess where we're getting our information from to go, is this right? So then it goes, well, where have I been successful? Right? And when I was in high school, I ran cross country, right? So I was really successful at that. Like I could do under, 6-minute miles, and I was feeling good. And, then it was why I was an EMT for a while, and that was really successful. And, all these different areas of my life where I was successful. And I was like, okay, let's recalibrate to that. Then it turns into what about those times made them successful? Running cross country, did I get tired? Yes. Right? Do you hit the wall? Yes. Right?
Right.
Did you stop? No. Okay, that's what made me successful there, right? So like in my little mental, notebook, it was you don't stop.
Okay.
Right? It was looking for these little things. When it came to being the EMT, it was you gave it 100%. You realized people's lives are in your hand, so you take it serious, right? These are just little notes, right? And I looked for other areas, same thing, just little things that I was like, that's why I was successful in that, in that, in that. Now my calibration starts to change, right? And it's not so much now is it, well, I can't do this because I'm going to fail. Could I fail? Yeah, that's still a possibility, right? But it's, well, if I do these things, then I will always be a success.
Mm.
And then my intuition started telling me, hey, let's go do this because this meets these criterias. And I learned to trust it at that point.
Say that apart again.
I learned to trust it at that point. Once
Right.
it was like, hey, this meets these criterias of success, let's go do that, right? Or if it was like, hey, these are our criteria for success, that is nothing to do with that, avoid it, right?
So, okay, there's a few things I think of. One is like, it almost felt like when you were saying that, it's like pulling jewels and diamonds out of the rubble. It's almost like, oh, these are all the reasons why I can't do this thing. But then you go, as I go through it, I actually find that it's not just that. Like I did this way. This is how I succeeded. Okay, let's pull that out. Now let's go through some more. Here's another place where I succeeded. Pulling that out, where all of a sudden where you just thought it was like rubble and a mess and something you couldn't do, you found that there's jewels in there and you can pull them out, separate them, focus on them, and let them be the reminder and also like the beacon of, what worked before and what you could focus on to work again. Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking was that my friend Felicity, who does Alchemical Journeys, I hope I'm saying her business correct. And I did an interview with her on my channel, and she works on intuition and psychic abilities. And one thing that she said is that one thing that you do to, like, if someone wanted to work on their psychic abilities, which I also think very much so is intuition, it's definitely in the same family, is that you validate moments where your intuition was really solid and you had a hit, which is also what I'm hearing from what you're saying. So the way she was saying it was, for example, when you don't know where your keys are, and then all of a sudden you feel something in your body that goes, or you hear something somehow and you go, look over there. Then you look over there and you find it. That's a moment to validate your own self, your being, your everything, and go validate it in whatever way. We'd have to bring her on to really talk, here. But basically you validate it. You give it a moment to acknowledge it. And by doing that, you're going, see, you can do it. You do have it in you. Instead of how most people go, oh, well, I must have just remembered, or it was a fluke or something. It's like, actually, you can start to build that sense by giving it the acknowledgement, appreciation, and the validation.
Yeah. And it needs that, right? Because, if you think about like just our own conscious lives, right? If we don't know what we're doing or why we're doing it or where we're going, we will feel lost, right? We will feel as if maybe we're going in circles, doing the same thing over and over. our intuition is very much the same way, right? It needs to hear, hey, good job, right? It needs to hear, wow, this was actually a misguided intuition. Yeah. This isn't our intuition. This is an intuition that someone gave us, right? I forget who, it was pretty recently, and I wish I could remember who it was. We were just talking about who we want to become, and he goes, how he determines if he's going to accept something is, he goes, would I trade bodies with that person?
Huh. Okay.
And if the answer was no, it was his sign to go, I'm not going to trust what they say and do. I'm not going to trust their intuition, because what they do and how they live and how they think is not who I want to be.
Okay.
And I like that, right? Because how many times do we learn stuff from someone and then we go, my gut's telling me not to do this, but it's because we learned from someone we wouldn't trade bodies with.
That's interesting, because I know some people who I very much trust their intuition, but I would not want to live in their body or their choices. So that's interesting. It's interesting to think about. It'd be a fun investigation. Yeah. So I wanted to bring up this misguided intuition. Tell me more about that. I've rarely heard that term and think it's important.
Yeah, like if we think about things that happen in our life, right? We are just a giant jigsaw puzzle, right? And unfortunately, we put pieces in the wrong spot, but it still makes a picture, right? Maybe not a crystal clear picture, but still a picture. Yeah. And what happens is we learn from other people, especially at a young age, right? When we're born, we don't know how to do anything, from walk to talk to read to write to work to anything, right? Even what to believe, right? And so even our intuition is very basic, right? As children, I'd say some of us don't even know not to get close to an edge because we could fall off and hurt ourselves, right? Some of us, we know, I don't know how we know, but we know not to get too close. But there's a lot of us that we go, oh, right up to the edge, right? Until we learn not to. Okay. And so when we think about that, is our intuition is taught to us by someone else. And if someone else already has bad intuition, they can't teach us how to trust our own intuition.
That's so interesting.
But chances are they don't know they have bad intuition.
So what about folks that were raised in such bad conditions that they had to learn to have better intuition? What do you think about that?
This is where I feel like we learn more in darkness and failure and poverty than we ever do in success and richness and in wholeness. Because you see, we'll use con artists, right, as a basic example. Con artists usually learn how to look at someone and go, this is how I can get into them, right? This is how I throw off their intuition.
Right.
Right. And they didn't learn that because they had a great life. They learned it as a necessary skill to survive. Right. They learned people how to see someone and go, oh, their intuition's misguided, so I can hijack it. Because then you get the people who see them for who they are. They don't go after them. They leave them alone. Right. Because they go, well, that's just a fight. I'm not in it for a fight. I'll go after this guy or this person who's misguided, because that's going to be easier. Right. They recognize that. They also learn to trust their intuition to go, this seems like a dangerous situation. I have to pull out now. Right. Because they have probably been in so many situations where they went, yep. Yeah, whatever, maybe beaten up or something, right? Where they were like, I should have listened to my intuition to leave earlier. Right. So it's one where we definitely learn more in those darker moments than we could ever do in the light when it comes to going, is our intuition right or wrong? Right. because that's how a lot of us get to calibrate it the initial way, right? If I think of this, like people I knew and grew up with, when it comes to their intuition and trusting people, their intuition told them to trust the wrong people because they went, well, they're like me, right? And so it felt weird to be around someone who maybe had a positive mindset, who was like, hey, you work hard, you get these results, right? It felt weird to be around them because their whole life it was, well, those are the bad guys, you know? And so their intuition is just misguided. So they have to, in order to begin to change, is to question, like, and I'm not saying like friends are bad or, the people we hang out with are bad. They're probably really good people. They probably have the world's biggest hearts and they're kind, but they're just as misguided as you are, right? And that's why it feels so natural, But when you can challenge it to go, well, would I want to live their life for the next 50 years, right? With these intuitions I have, if the answer is no, that means we have to recalibrate them. We have to begin to shift them, to challenge all the things that have put us in that position, right? And I feel like intuition is one where not a lot of people talk about when they talk about how we change as people, right? We always talk about you got to change your thoughts, right? You got to change your behavior, you got to change your actions. But very rarely is it, hey, we got to look at our intuition. We got to look at what's guiding us to make this decision, right? Because if we're trusting the compass that points south when we need to go north, we will never get to where we want to go.
Absolutely. So then my question is, what do you define intuition as? And then I'd like to wrap up our session talking about ways to recalibrate our intuition.
Yeah. So to me, my intuition is really my gut instincts, like my core understanding of who I am and what I'm working to accomplish, right? My gut will be like, hey, don't go over there because that's not going to lead us to success. It's going to lead us to pain in some way, right? Other times, like when it's my gut, it's very much of an unconscious response, right? It's an unconscious going, here are 1,000 examples on why this is a bad idea, but consciously that's going to take too long. So versus telling you all of this, I'm going to say just avoid it. Right? Yeah, it is taking our entire life story in the snap of a finger speed to go, don't go there, don't do that, right? But at the same time, it's saying, yeah, let's go that way. That's the right way. Okay. And when you know that like the definition of what you're aiming for, and it's different for everything, right? It could be relationships, it could be business, it could be money, it could be health, right? When you go, my intuition is telling me that I don't have time, I got to get McDonald's. When you know you're trying to get fit or healthier, right? You get to challenge that, to go, my intuition's wrong. My gut is wrong when it says I don't have time, right? When it comes to relationships, I work with clients where, man, the choice of partners isn't good, right? But they go, it's easy, right? It's like shooting fish in a barrel, what most of them say. And I'm like, great. How has that served you to get to where you want to be? And like, well, it doesn't. Like, all right, so let's recalibrate that intuition to go, easy may not be the right answer. Let's move it towards the other direction. And when they do, and they start challenging these little thoughts, big things happen. And that's when it comes to recalibrating our intuition is key, is we have to look at what's going on, what our gut is telling us and saying, is this going to help me achieve whatever I'm trying to achieve? The answer is yes. 100% listen to it. Pat it on the back. Say, good job, right? Especially after, when it gets you closer, be like, yes, this is it. More of this. It will want to give you more of it, right? But at the same time, if it's something where we go, oh man, being in this room full of these people who I'm not used to, and this is scary, this is dangerous. Well, it's scary and dangerous because, hold on. Is it scary and dangerous because it's new? And it's just our intuition has been misguided because it likes easy versus hard, right? Or easy versus new. Is it telling us that these people are backstabbers? Well, if it is, where did that come from? Right? Because has this person ever stabbed you in the back? No? So what about them is saying that? Right? Is it the clothes they wear? Is it the mustache? Is it, right? Is it something about them? Is it how they stand? Right? We have to begin to question why and how these thoughts came about, this gut instinct of this is bad, because if we don't challenge them, then we'll just go, this is bad. We go the other way, and we could miss out on the greatest opportunity of our life. And at the same time, is if, let's say, someone very specific hurt you, and you go, well, they don't have a good idea, they don't have good intuition, then yeah, you have every right not to listen to them, right? But if the person has never influenced your life or been part of your life or hurt you in any way, and something is telling you it's wrong, well, that's when we should really question it, right? Looking inside, going, what about this or them is causing me to feel this way? And is it true?
So could you summarize 3 to 5, whatever number of ways to start to recalibrate your intuition?
Yep. So I'd say that the first way is really looking at the situation or person and going, have they ever let me down? That, and it's not a general thing. It has to be very specific of that single person or that event, right? If the answer is yes, then you can very much trust your intuition. If the answer is no, which I'd say 90% of the time, it is a no, right? It's just something about it seems similar. When it's a no, we have to go, okay, then. If this has never let me down, hurt me, made me feel bad in any way, what about it, right? It's causing me. So I guess that would be 3. And then we challenge it, right? That's the big one. Number 4 is challenge it, right? Really look at it and challenge of who taught me this? Where did I pick this up, right? Could it be different this time than every other time, right? When you start challenging it and you go, great, then you have to, the last one would be take action on it, right? You make that firm decision to go, I'm either doing it or I'm not doing it. There's no, going, wow, have one foot in that door, one foot out the door. It's no, you gotta be fully committed with that decision, because if you have that foot in both doors, you really can't move anywhere. And then your intuition will stay misguided because it would never really get to fully experience what it could have accomplished or done or happened, right? Because it always well, yeah, it could have been better, but I kept one foot out, right? It'll go, yeah, so then it's not complete. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm definitely going to try those things. And as always, anyone who's watching later, if you have any questions or comments about how it worked for you or didn't work for you, do let us know. And it is yet to be determined what we talk about next week, but it very likely is going to be the aha moment that we have in our lives on our own, and specifically in a hypnosis session. Those are always really deep moments and moments of change where you just kind of go, huh. There's a lot of power in that moment. It's this moment of transformation, of something changing, something becoming different. So thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
And we will sign off for now. And we'll see everyone next week.